I'd be in jail or be dead. That's what I know.
Mm.
That's personally, I just know that's what, that was the path I was heading down. I have two brothers that are police officers. I have one brother that did 10 years hard time. So I was trapped always in the middle. I was good at school, but I mean, it could have went, there's many times that God saved me now looking back, but we don't know what an invitation can do to change someone's life, whether that was her inviting me to mass,
Never know your
Father
impact.
Yasik inviting me to us to the amazing parish. And now how we're getting involved at our parish now is St. John the Evangelist. It's just like one thing after another. And you just don't realize how these different moments and just these little invitations can go and explode, because
you never know your impact.
You never know.
Right. You never know.
Welcome to the Ron Huntley Leadership Podcast, helping leaders be a positive catalyst on the people they support, the organizations they serve, and the communities they live. This podcast will make you think, laugh, and grit your teeth with new determination to make your parish or business a place of transformation, passion, and purpose. If you're still breathing, you are power for impact.
Hello and welcome back. My name is Ron Huntley. Welcome to the Leadership Podcast. I'm excited to talk today to two friends, Bobby and Katie Fredericksen, better known as the Catholic couple on social media and in their podcast. And we want to talk today about normalizing Catholicism. You do not have to be weird to be Catholic, or at least that's our premise. We're going to unpack that today. It's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for having us.
Good to see you.
Listen, I would love to maybe start from a place of your story, because your story is pretty normal, but it's cool. It's awesome. But, not everybody's rooted in the church, and faith is their biggest priority, and just driving forward to be saints as young people. It'd be great if they are. And I know there's some people that are listening that are, and good on you. But not everybody is. And so I'd love for you to share. How did you meet?
Well, we
didn't meet Catholic
you or anything like that. No,
yeah.
Our story is definitely different. I was a bartender, and she was coming into a bar that I used to bartend, and that's how we first kind of met. And from there,
so we met in a bar. Very normal how people meet. There's one. And then and I'm a cradle Catholic. I grew up my whole life. You have to go to church, It was just something, it was an expectation, if that makes sense. My mom is very devout. And
she's a third order Carmelite. She's a daily mass.
It was just very expected that I needed to go. And then, Bob, how were you raised?
I was raised, our tagline of the show is, I'm the convert Catholic, she's the cradle Catholic, but technically I converted from paganism, basically. I was baptized as a baby, but I never had any, formal faith. I didn't go to church. Sure. I didn't really even know anybody who went to church or never mentioned the name of Jesus. So I was kind of foreign to the idea, and kind of the opposite going through public schools. It was kind of always I
went to Catholic school, grade school, but public high school.
So
gotcha.
It was,
we both went to the same high school, but 4 years. He's significantly older than I am. So by 4 years. So we did not go to high school together, but we
weren't at the same building at the same time. So that's how we didn't know each other. And that's how we met
in a bar.
Yes. So, but she was different. There was, I never met somebody that was how she was, just how she treated other people. And especially at the time I was dating, I was with another girl, and she wasn't nice, and she was super mean to her. And the way that she handled herself, it was like, I've never seen anybody get, somebody yelling at them, somebody being mean, and then turning the other cheek, and then driving that person home. Like what? Wow. How does somebody do that? My experience was, I bartended for a lot of years. I've probably been in over 50 fist fights. Like that's how I handled all my problems. And, I was a fraternity guy, into, a sinful life, basically. And when I seen somebody, it like literally stopped me in my tracks. Like, how is that possible? How is somebody that happy? How can they handle something like that? Every time I've ever seen a situation like that, somebody would throw a drink in their face or do something totally different. So that right there, just by how she was living her life, kind of got my attention extra. Like, whoa, that's different. Wow. And turns out she's Catholic. And I'm
and I'm practicing in the sense of, I'd still say like my faith in that time was more things I had to do. I guess I did live it more than I thought, but it was more of a dormant, like I was raised this way and this is how I act, but never where I was cognizant of the things that I was doing as to God working through me or me living out my faith, right? It was just something that I was raised with. Does that make sense?
You were still going to mass, so you had that.
Yeah, so we still had that grace, but never realized how it was working. I wasn't aware of how it was working. I explained my own journey with more. I lit up once I realized that these rules, regulations, things I had to do are because I'm in a relationship with God, and not because I have to, because you have to, or that whole idea, not going to hell and stuff. But I would say that even when I met Bob in a bar, right, and we were both kind of, even though he's the convert Catholic, I'd say I'm more the cradle revert Catholic, right? Like that or that I never really saw my faith come alive until I saw a conversion happen to him that had nothing. So I had it, but I didn't know what I had, right?
Yeah. And probably part of it too is, I wonder if part of it wasn't your mom's faithfulness. Like she probably raised you very intentionally and probably modeled a level of, I don't know your mom, but kindness and just virtuous life. Is that possible? I don't know.
Well, I refer to her as my Saint Monica, because I was like Saint Augustine, in his Confessions, that was him, not yet kind of an attitude. And I know she was fervently praying for me, still does. I see her every morning at daily mass, and I know she's praying for me. It's just nice to know that you got somebody behind you who's on your who's praying for you. That's definitely part of it, for sure. Spiritually, for sure. So faith's that important. It's just seeing that she's a happy person. She's the most giving person I know. She just like lights up to give. So it's just like when you see people who have their faith in action, it's attractive, and that's what I always try to preach, is that, joy is our biggest weapon. And if we're, not happy Christians, it's like, that's the worst thing we can be, is like, but joy and a smile can convert people by, just by smiling. It's just,
and I never came into the attention of, I'm going to convert him to Catholicism. I didn't even really value, I valued it, but I never really thought about it until, one Christmas Eve, we always went to midnight mass. It was our thing, especially myself and my best friend would always go to midnight mass. We'd actually go to a bar beforehand.
No, okay. After.
No, we would go and have a little cocktail beforehand and still fast for the hour, because you go to Christmas carols at 11 and then mass was at midnight. So we even followed the rules, man, because she is a family of 8, she's on number 7 of 8 kids, right? So we knew the rules. We still made it to mass. We still did all the things, but did it come alive as to how that it should animate my life? No, so when we first started dating, I'm like, I know you're not into religion or weren't brought up with anything, but midnight mass is really cool. It's really beautiful if you want to come. And so go ahead.
So it's coming up on the anniversary here of Christmas. So I get emotional.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't cry or cry. I don't know. Is that good for the show?
Well, well, it was a Christmas miracle. That's just exactly, I shared a post on our Instagram, because it was St. Andrew's feast day, November 30th. And that was the church that we went to, St. Andrew the Apostle.
It's a beautiful
It's a beautiful church. And, I walked in there with, at that time in my life, I had lost my house, lost my hair, lost my job. I didn't have much. Obviously things could have got worse, but it was pretty bad at that moment. So I was to that point where I was searching, seeking, looking for a Christmas miracle. And I walked in with an open heart, and I just remember, at the time I didn't really know what was going on, but I just remember like, God, if this is real, this is going on, just talk to me, touch me, whatever you can do, whatever it is. And I just, I walked out of there a different person, literally. And then I turned to Katie and I said, I think I'm going to do this every Sunday.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. And it was like a Christmas miracle. And I didn't really even know what was going on, but the place was beautiful. Everybody was so nice, the music. And it was like literally just an invitation. If she never would have said, hey, you want to do this? Things would have been 100% different. We definitely probably would have never got together, got married, had kids.
Have stayed together. Right. I think
it's just crazy how it works, but it wasn't, it wasn't by her telling me the rules or, hey, you have to do this to date me. It was just a simple invitation. And that's what most of the time is.
It's more like midnight mass is really pretty. It's what we do on Christmas. Would you like to come? It's really pretty. Like the beauty brings people into the church. That church is gorgeous, especially on Christmas Eve, and the whole church is dark and they slowly light it up with the Christmas carols going. It is absolute beauty brings people in, right? It's the first thing you notice. I think though, with you saying that to me and then just looking into all the things, then, Bob is a personality, which is good and bad, right? That he goes all in on something. If he's not like ever lukewarm, he's either hot or cold, and he's 100% in. And it was kind of like me, I'm a cradle Catholic, and I just go to mass, and he's like, and then this, and then this, and then this, and I'm like, I just go to church. I just go to mass on Sundays. Like, you're trying to like talk this cradle Catholic into doing all these things, and I'm like, So again, this was me just not lit up, it's me hardwired in the basics.
You're culturally Catholic, right? You're
culturally Catholic, hardwired in the basics, but there's no switch that got flipped until that happened, right? Then I lit up and I'm like, oh, whoa, this is a relationship. This is something I need to work on. This is a person I need to have a relationship with, not Bob.
How did you get to that place? Like, you got Bob. Like, that's a physical relationships and loving relationships. That's obvious. But what point did that become like, how did you get from there? That's a big jump from I'm culturally Catholic because I was raised Catholic, born and raised. I'm expected to go to church. Like a lot of us, I grew up like that too. A lot of people can relate to that. But hold on. Like, how did
this was
happen?
both slow and fast, I think. I think it was his conversion that sparked an interest. And then over time, things that we slowly got involved with. So we were invited to go to we were married. And then we were invited to go to the Amazing Parish Conference with our priest, who has broken English. And we thought we were going to help him out in the marriage ministry. And we
just said yes.
And we said sure. And then we go to this, and this is a parish conference. What is this? And so, and that's how we heard about Alpha, actually. And
we heard Father Mallon talk and Jeff Cave.
And again, Bob can't do anything little bit. He has to go big or go home. So as soon as he was fighting with our priest on the plane, I'm doing Alpha. He's like, well, let's just go slow. He's like, no, I'm doing it. And then he already
dragged me all the way out to Denver to go home and talk about it. I said, we're going to do it. And I don't care what you say. It's free. They said it's free and I'll make it happen. So
he drove himself to Michigan.
I drove to Michigan that like 2 weeks later to get trained.
This is me going, I'm just Catholic and I go to church and now I go to this conference. And there was an encounter during adoration with Matt Maher concert. It was.
I was in the room, by the way. I was there at that conference. I was in that room with Matt Maher. You guys were there. We just didn't know each other. How cool was that?
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. So that was for me, that was an encounter. That was the first experience, second experience. So the midnight mass but I wasn't yet into this church yet. So now I've been received into the church. We went to this conference and I never heard people talk about this is what our faith is. Be disciples, make disciples. I'm like, what is this? And then I was sold. Jeff Cavins gave a talk about the difference between a fan or a follower. And I'm like, I don't want to be a fan. I'm a fan of the Bears and the Bulls. I'm like, yeah, what does that get me? I want to be a follower. And I'm like, whatever it takes. And we were, and that our priest called me the pit bull because I'm like, no. Whatever it's willing to do. I took my own money. I'm driving. I'm getting trained. And then I came back. I said, no, he gave me like 10 more reasons why we can't do it. And I just said, no, I'm doing it, period. And then, so Katie and I were still working. We had no budget. We had no team. It was just me and her. And then we cooked the food ourselves. I would shower at work, go straight to the church. We would make the food. We would host, do all the stuff. And
then eventually we did get the ball rolling.
Yes, that was just.
Right.
But you're willing to do the heavy lifting early in order to get the ball rolling.
Right.
But that's where we grew so much. It was just like being uncomfortable, stretching, letting the Holy Spirit kind of come in. And we just started to embrace the Holy Spirit into our marriage, into everything that we did. It was like, we had no experience as Catholics for like the Holy Spirit weekend. We're like, we just had to try. Right. We just had to put ourselves out there and miracles started happening. People started growing in their faith and we grew. And
right. And I think that's it too. It's that I realized how much I didn't know and how much richness and truth there is to discover even now. I'll sometimes learn things and I'm like, well, I never taught this in the Catholic schools. Like, why wasn't I taught this? I mean, I know we don't have time to teach it all, and the just the richness and the depth that our faith has. I just feel like was kind of robbed, but I think it's because of, I needed to have that. I needed to grow up, right? I needed to go make this faith my own, not my mom's. You have to go to mass, right? Now it was mine, and I needed to be on that path. And just that different podcasts, like, honestly, it might be, cliche, but honestly, Father Mike Schmidt's podcast, his homilies really helped me.
Listening to them for 10, 12 years when they very first came out.
When he's just a priest and well, he still is in the University of Duluth, right? But we
were thirsty and hungry to learn more, and anywhere we could find
more truth. I was starving for more, and I was starving for more. Where can I get more? It's like an onion that never stops peeling, and you just keep finding out more. You just get really hungry for it and excited about it.
And then that priest, he asked me to get involved in this lay leadership program at the seminary Mundelein. And I looked at the sheet. I said, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll do it." I looked at the sheet. It was just the front side. So it was just Mondays for like a year.
Again, us being asked something we had saying yes to, but we said yes.
I never turned over the sheet. I already committed. It was like 2 years. It was like Mondays, and then it was like Saturdays all day for 2 years. And we were living in Northwest Indiana. I'm driving all the way to Mundelein. It was like 2 hours. It was turned out to be such a blessing, though. We were thirsty for learning, and it was just one thing just kept happening, and it was just awesome.
Where I'm at, and I don't know about you, and I think you're with me, it's like, I think this is in stages. I was thirsty for more learning more, right? More edification. Now I'm thirsty for more community that also is on my level with what I've uncovered, that I can have deep, grounded conversations with, right? Because I feel like our culture right now is so shallow, superficial, give me bite size, right? It doesn't go very much. We've learned, we want to get to that next level of discussion and collaboration and community.
And that's what Alpha did for us. I mean, it was like, we didn't know what we were doing, but we sat at a table and got to share listen to other people and hear their stories. Like, hey, they're similar to us, and just growing and being, hospitality, because I'm one of 4 boys. I had no faith. I was a selfish person. I didn't know how to give of myself to other people. And this allowed me an opportunity, especially, I didn't have very good patience. Most of the people were older. It was like, it was just, I kept putting myself in different situations I would have never thought, 10 years prior I would have been in. The guy who was, a bouncer at a bar, who was more worried about gambling and drinking and stuff like that. But it was like, I felt alive. I felt this sense of community and belonging. The thing that my heart was really longing for the whole time. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And it was with Jesus and his church and his community.
Wow. That's so beautiful. The whole idea of, seeing Bob's conversion and then that awakening you and then going on this journey together. There's 2 things that I'm hearing that were really pivotal. One of them is people asking you to do stuff, right? Like, they just asked you and you were crazy enough to say yes, but that ask and that yes led to something crazy. But then I also look at the role that Alpha played in your life, even just fumbling around, because I'd say that was my experience too. I was fumbling around with Alpha. I didn't know what to do. The whole idea of praying with people, they'd be filled with the Holy Spirit, scared the daylights out of me. Like, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And so it's in the fumbling, it's in the trying, it's in the commitment, it's in the generosity, it's in having those conversations over and over again that just somehow, some way, you grow.
Just being open, for me, I think too many times as Catholics, we just assume everyone's answer is going to be no. So we don't ask, kind of a thing. So it's like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Kind of, let's do it. But now, obviously, with Alpha, it's a culture of invitation and bringing people along. It's just, I don't know how many times I was going to ask somebody, I'm like, what are they going to think? Or what are they going to say? And just not being, so worried about those kinds of things, and give them the opportunity to say no. Because if we don't ask, the answer is no. And if, whatever the statistic is, you ask 10 people, one person says yes, it's like, okay, well, one person's life, like me, was changed because somebody took the time to have the courage to ask me. Not, hey, here's a theological explanation of why you should be Catholic, but hey, we got this cool thing, come check it out. And that's the Alpha premise, and that's why it works. It's like, hey, come and see the Jesus method. Come and see. Hey, I'm a sinner. you know, we go to church because I know I need a savior, and she knew I needed it, and you know, who doesn't? So it's like, hey, but you know, it's.
I knew you needed it though. I mean, I did.
Well,
yeah,
you
I knew
knew
you
I
needed
needed
it.
Definitely.
You know, but it was like, this is what I do for Christmas. We were starting to date.
Yeah.
We weren't dating that long, but it was getting pretty serious, you know, and it was more of a next step in my life. This is that. But then God did the rest, you know. It was like he used me and I didn't even know it. I was kind of oblivious. Thank you for thinking that have all these intentions of, well, I know you're going to change his life, Lord. None of that was like, this is what I do for Christmas. But I appreciate it.
Well, well, you don't realize these little things that people do mean things, and it's either everything matters or nothing matters. And that's how serious it is, because everything matters. And how you talk to somebody, how you smile at somebody, how you live your life, you know, it echoes in eternity. I believe that, you know, and it's, and it really can change somebody's.
You'll never see your full impact. Yeah. That's absolutely right.
And that's it. But and when you do, and then you see the fruit, then that gives you the steam to keep going when it gets tough, when it's hard, when you got 10 no's in a row, and you've been asking that person at work like 100 times, like, you should try alpha, and they don't, and then eventually they do. Then it's like, you know, it's like your faith just grows because you see it in action, and you see the miracles, and you see how people's lives are, you know, changed and affected. And it really, it's like, I don't know what I'd be in jail or be dead. That's what I know. That's personally, I just know that's what, you know, that was the path I was heading down. I have 2 brothers that are police officers. I have 1 brother that did 10 years hard time. So I was trapped always in the middle. I was good at school, but I mean, it could have went, I mean, there's many times that God saved me now looking back, but we don't know what an invitation can do to change someone's life, whether that was her inviting me to mass, Father Yasik inviting me to us to the amazing parish, and now how we're getting involved at our parish now is St. John the Evangelist. It's just like one thing after another, and you just don't realize how these different moments and just these little invitations can go and explode, because it's
you never know your impact.
You never know.
Right. You never know.
Well, I know that, you know, you guys started a podcast, The Catholic Couple, and your social media is active. And so what drives you guys to continue to have these conversations and invite people into these, like, what's driving you now?
Well, she said, I'm super passionate. So I'm like all in. So I'm like, some would say maybe obsessed, but I'm inspired. If I get inspired, I want to share it with other people. And I learn, my background was, I went to college to be a teacher, and she was a teacher, now a principal. So I've learned that when I share things with other people, not only does it help them, but it helps me, and it goes deeper into me to remember it. Because every day we share, we already talked about Father Mike Schmitz. He's impacted our life, and he's reaching so many people with the Bible in a year, and now this catechism in a year, and his homilies. And we've been following him for a long time, and it's like, it's impacted us. So if it impacted me, you know, a meathead, you know, ex-person, like he's reaching a lot of younger people. So we share a lot of that. And also the other guy is Fulton Sheen. I mean, I found Fulton Sheen and like read all his books and watched all his old Life is Worth Living videos, and got super.
I love him.
Yeah. So we have this bond in the 2 people that we really love, and we you know how much they make the faith come alive to us. So we like to share that, and like a lot of quotes and stuff like that. But
I think that for me, that like I said, we had this thirst for knowledge, thirst for wanting to know more, that the more we found out, the more we realized what we didn't know. And it's like never ending. That, along with that need and want for expression and community, that's the perfect platform, because we can have these dynamic conversations about these things that we're learning about. Like, where else, what medium can we utilize for that? Because there aren't that many people out there reading Fulton Sheen right now. Okay. I mean, not in our, you know,
in our friend circle,
but online and through podcasts and through me and you having a dialogue, and just thinking that the people in the podcast that are listening are almost like sitting at the table with us, joining the conversation. It's bridging the gap between what we've learned and that community. That's how I see it.
The podcast is, you know, we share what we do in the podcast on our social media. Most of the time we're on Instagram, but like the podcast, it's just, we don't really usually have a script. It's usually me and her. We're both super busy. Right. So it's like, we'll schedule it out. And it's like, we get to have a conversation with each other. Like the dog's laying down, the kids are sleeping.
Was the podcast.
Yeah. And it's, I still have to kind of like beg her, like, come on, you know, you want to do it, you know, and she, you know, cause we're busy. So it's like, so so it just depends on like the topics, things that we're interested is what we want to talk about. So like parenting, how to raise Catholic kids, mindset type stuff, leadership. We've had you on up talking about leadership. So we're both in leadership roles. So we want to be better leaders. We want to be better parents, better Catholics, better, better spouses to each other. And things that work for us, we try to be as vulnerable as possible because, with each other.
Real.
To be vulnerable and real. I mean, my past is there's nothing off limits. I don't mind. It's like, if I could show like, hey, I was addicted to drugs and gambling and stuff like that, but with God, anything's possible, so this is how we move past it and move forward. And, if you stumble, how to get back up. And, I put these different things into my life that's worked for me. If it can work for a bonehead like me, it can work for you. And this is what I did. And, it's hard. Yes. And stuff like that. Just anything, discipline, or she's a daily faster. She fasts 20 hours a day usually. So the benefits to that, or just
not
whatever.
lately in this Christmas season.
And we also like to we're both very liturgical. So we like to like what's going on in the church, and like we live our lives liturgically with our family and how we raise our kids.
Some of the things that we're interested in and thirsting for that knowledge and being able to share it. Because when you know something, you want to share it. And like you said, when you share it, you remember it better too, right? When you teach it, you remember it. So just also sharing that and having that be, you want to process your thoughts. You read a good book, you want to have a discussion about that. You hear a good message, you want to have a discussion about that. And we're nerds, right? Like, so.
And we found the best news. We found Jesus, and we want to share that.
Yeah, so what we're doing is just sitting and recording our conversations because we're like, somebody out there must be interested in this stuff too.
Well, it's funny you say that because I like the way you guys go about it is just so fun. I feel like I'm sitting around the table, eavesdropping on a fun conversation, and you guys are so real with each other and therefore real with us, the listeners. And it's just plain fun. It's, it's just fun. And I don't even think you need to be Catholic to listen to this stuff, because there's so many people that are married to a Catholic and or are curious about Catholic stuff, but don't know where to go to learn or to listen in. And I just recommend anybody who's, just trying to do life, marriage, parenting, work, and wrestle with faith and make it real and integrate it into your life. I can't recommend you guys enough in terms of following what you're doing and being involved in those conversations. And I hope the podcast today, as people they're listening to it on audio, you can go to YouTube as well and see Bobby and Katie for yourself, but then head on over to the work you're doing. I just really wanted to introduce people to you because I just see you guys earnestly living out your faith through your marriage, through your parenting, through your work, with all the struggles and challenges that is. But I just see this earnestness and passion in you guys that I really value and admire.
And we're trying to live our faith out in the world. And we know in this culture right now, it's so hard to do it because it almost seems like the world's against us and it's hostile. It's easy on Sunday when everyone believes what we believe for the most part. And we're in that community, but then we're called to go back out and to the real world. And it's just funny with my job. For a long time, when I first started becoming Catholic, like I was being mocked at work. They were mocking me. They would call me Bobby Jesus. And that was like to like make fun of me. Like, oh, there's Bobby Jesus. Cause I was just starting to read the scriptures and I'm like, man, I didn't know the Bible. So I'm like carrying
all real new for him.
Yeah. I'm like listening to podcasts and I'm doing all this stuff cause I'm, I worked, for public works, and a lot of the times I can have a headphone in. So I'm trying to learn and I'm doing all this stuff. And then they were making fun of me. And then at one point it was crazy because I got permission to put up a crucifix at work. And then out of nowhere, like they kind of turned on me and they're like, okay, you got to take the crucifix down. So now I had this moment and I'm like, I almost felt like Jesus, in the temple, kind of like a moment. I was like kind of overreacted. The old me kind of snapped in. I'm like, no, now you're coming at me for my beliefs. I got permission. And it was like one of these, I almost got fired. So I got suspended for 3 days. And I'm like, I don't know if I can work here anymore. It was like a bunch of stuff. And I was already humbled in this job because, I was a teacher and here I am, I'm working mostly picking up garbage and stuff like that. And then I found out what the word liturgy means. It's the people's work. I'm like, here I am, my public works. I can do the people's work. And that's what happened. And then I transformed it. And it's just crazy from that story where I almost got fired for Jesus to now our new mayor, he has encouraged the whole city for prayer before work, which I work for a public city, a municipality, and the mayor leads the whole entire, it's optional. The mayor leads the whole city hall in prayer, and he wants all the department heads. Now I got promoted. I'm a deputy commissioner, so I lead prayer every morning for 30 guys. Not everyone prays, but every day it's different. I rely on the Holy Spirit to say prayer. So I went from getting almost fired for a crucifix and standing up for myself and being mocked for my faith to now I lead prayer every single day. And it was funny how that transition happened. I don't know if I told you, but she gave me a bunch of blessed miraculous medals, and I stashed them all over work, in the boss's office and all over. And within a month, they were all gone. All those people were gone. And now we got a whole new team in here. And that was because miraculous medal, our Blessed Mother. So it's just crazy how God is just funny. It's like, God laughs and he can take any situation and kind of whatever we think is going to happen, just turn it upside down. And it's just, I try to stay faithful through the whole thing. And it just seemed like they were all against me. And now it's like the tide has changed. And now we're praying every day and we're seeing other people's lives being changed. And hopefully I'm pitching Alpha to try to do it to the city. So I'm working on that. So that's stay tuned for that. So
yeah. That'd be a nice follow-up podcast. I like the sounds of that. And us as listeners, we can pray for Bobby in that pursuit. I mean, it's so cool. And Alpha in the workplace is a thing. And to be able to do that. So cool. Katie, I want to have you back too. I know that you're in Catholic education. You're a principal now at a school. And I've done work with pastors and principals have sometimes been on leadership teams and stuff, which never really works, but we'll talk about that in our podcast. And not because they're often the most contagious, well-educated and really great people, but they're just so busy. Like they just have so much to manage, and it's not the parish. And so, but I'd love to have you back and crack that open a little bit, because I think it's important. Absolutely. I think it's important that people understand that, and it'd be a fun conversation. Both of you are amazing. Where can people follow you guys, Bobby?
Our podcast is The Catholic Couple, Fun with Faith, Family, and Friends. We're on Spotify, iTunes. Our Instagram's The Catholic Couple 1. And we're also on YouTube. We got a YouTube channel, but mostly you want to get in contact with us. Instagram, we're on there every day. I also do.
He's on there every day.
I'm on there.
He does a joke a day.
I do the dad jokes.
I'm a principal.
Yeah, she's busy. I get up early every day.
You just said it, Ron. They're really busy.
They are.
Do a joke a day.
They are. So she's our technical advisor. I'm more.
And they look like the Catholic couple. Is the Catholic guy or husband or Catholic dude, Catholic dad, whatever. But I do exist, and I go on the podcast, and I sometimes show up on reels on the Instagram.
Yes,
but
you do.
That's mainly him.
Yes, you do.
So if you want to see a dad joke, I think the world needs more laughter. So that's what I share. We share quotes. The saint of the day, usually I'll throw a quote out there, or something that to inspire you through the day and try to laugh, because we need more laughter and joy, and that's what we're trying to do
for sure.
So
and making it normal,
and making Catholicism. Making it no, for sure.
Love it. And you really do. It's just so fun to talk to you guys. I think people have gotten a really great sense of your personality, your heart, your passion. I think your story, how you connected, it's just so fun. And so if you're listening to this today and you're thinking, oh man, these guys just seem so relevant and so real, share this podcast with a friend, follow Katie and Bobby and the work that they're doing, whatever you're doing in the church, wherever you are in life. We never drift closer to God. We only drift away. And so be intentional. Try Alpha if you haven't tried it yet. Connect with your local parish. Christmas is a great time to do it, although I don't know if this will come out before Christmas. You can always wait till next Christmas. And really just continue to connect. Thank you for sharing, everybody that's been joining us today. Thank you for leaving doing a thumbs up, leaving a question or a comment. All that stuff helps, and I really appreciate it. Everything we do is to glorify God and to help leaders and to help parishes be amazing. Bobby and Katie, thank you for everything you do at your church, at your school, at your workplace, and online to bring people closer to Christ. You guys are awesome.
Thank you for being a good friend and a mentor and helping us, because you've helped us a lot. We're actually starting a Connect group in January. So we're helping with the Connect group thanks to you and you helping guide us there. So we appreciate that sense of community we've been longing for. We're bringing it to
you're making my day.
Small group. So thank you.
That's awesome. God bless you both. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ron.
I want to encourage you, as you lead this week, be faithful to God and generous to others. See you next time, and remember, if you're still breathing, you are powered for impact.